Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Mtghazzard and this is going to be my guide for the Holy Priest. This will be straight to the point and we'll be covering everything from the build all the way down to the Crucible choices. And let's get started. We're going to start out with the build. So starting out, your 15 talent is going to be Enlightenment. It's a passive ability that grants you an additional 10% mana regeneration. This is very good for the Holy Priest because we use a little bit more mana than some of the other classes. So this will help to augment what we're spending. Enduring Renewal and Trail of Light are okay, but they don't come close to Enlightenment. Your level 30 talent, any of them are generally going to be good. It's based on preference. Me, I like to use Perseverance because I will be casting Renews, and why not cast one on myself and take 10% reduced damage? Self-explanatory there. Your 45 talent, Censure and Shining Force are both absolute garbage for rating. So Afterlife is what you want because when you're dead, and since we're able to heal past the time we die, this means we get to heal for longer before we actually die. Your level 60 talent, Guardian Angel is garbage, never ever choose it. We used to use Symbol of Hope as a big cooldown for the rest of the healers. However, it is more beneficial to use Light of the Naru, which is a possibility that makes it to where our Serendipity reduces the remaining cooldown on the appropriate Holy Word by an additional 2 seconds. And Serendipity is a passive ability that reduces the cooldown when we use our Flash Heal, or Prayer of Healing. Prayer of Healing will reduce the cooldown of Holy Word Sanctify. Flash Heal will reduce the cooldown of Holy Word Serenity. Going into the 75 talent, there's two ways to go on this. A lot of players choose to go with Piety, which reduces the cooldown of Prayer of Mending by an additional 2 seconds, and also allows it to trigger Serendipity, which would reduce the cooldown of the Holy Word Sanctify ability. However, I go with Binding Heal. It is, to me, more mana efficient and a stronger heal, as I will spam Binding Heal, and at 18,700 mana, it is almost half the cost of Flash Heal, and not only heals my target, but it heals myself and an additional random target, and the overall healing is more than Flash Heal. However, in a pinch, Flash Heal is going to be what you want to use, especially when you have to target yourself, as Binding Heal, you cannot target yourself. Now your level 90 talent, Halo and Divine Star are both absolute garbage. You don't want to use them. Divinity is what you want to use. It's passive. It says whenever you use your Holy Word spell, so Sanctify or Serenity, or even Holy Word Chastise, it will increase your healing by 15% for 6 seconds. Now, the reason for using Holy Word Chastise in the mix is because it will also help proc your artifact ability, which helps duplicate your spells. Now to your level 100 talent. Circle of Healing is okay, but Benediction and Apotheosis are much better. There's a difference though, is if you're using Piety, you're going to want to use Benediction. But even if you're using Binding Heal, some players do decide to use Benediction. It is very helpful. Me personally, I choose to use Apotheosis as an additional raid healing cooldown, especially when I'm down low on mana. It'll make it to where I can cast my Holy Word Sanctify and Holy Word Serenity for free for the duration of Apotheosis. And while I'm also low on mana, I can spam Binding Heal more often than I'd be able to use Flash Heal, which this will also reduce the cooldown of both Holy Word Sanctify and Serenity due to Light of the Naru and Binding Heal, to make it to where I can use those more often as well during the Apotheosis. Alright, now we're going to move on to the stat priority and stat weights. So my stats aren't perfect the way I want them just yet. I still don't have all the correct gear since this is an alt for me. But the way it is you want your mastery to be at about 45%. Your crit you're going to want at within 15% of your mastery. So if your mastery is at 45% where you need it to be, then your crit is going to be about 38.5%. So 38 to 39% is where you want to be for the crit. Haste, you only want to be about 15%, but again, haste is a comfortability issue. If you feel comfortable with less haste, go for it. If you're comfortable with more, go for it. But 15 is what I have found to be most efficient. Once you've reached the 45% mastery, the 38 to 39% crit, and your comfortable haste percentage, then you can dump everything else into versatility. We're going to move on to the Crucible choices. Now, in your Crucible, for either your first trait of the relic or your third trait, you want to shoot for any combination of the ability Say Your Prayer and Reverence. Reverence is the ability that says increases the healing done by Flash Heal and Heal by 15%. Even though Flash Heal won't be one of your top heals, based on if you go with this build, using Binding Heal will be one of your top heals, but Flash Heal will still be one you use when you need to heal someone up very quickly. And since there is no trait that increases Binding Heal, Flash Heal and Heal is what you want to go with. And the other one you want to shoot for your first or third trait for your relics is Say Your Prayers, which is Prayer Mending has a 42% chance to not consume a charge when it jumps to a new target. And you can see here for Say Your Prayer, I have rank 7 out of 7. Normally it'd be 4, but I have at least 3 between my 3 relics. And then your Dark and Light power, you want to shoot for either Refractive Shell or Master of Shadows. Now, Refractive Shell is your spells and abilities have a chance to cause Refractive Shell, absorbing 300,000 damage and lasts for 10 seconds. Very useful for survivability. And the Master of Shadows is mastery increased by a flat 500 and also increases your avoidance by 500. Avoidance is negligible, but the mastery is what you want. Now we're going to move on to the Gems and Enchants. Now, Gems and Enchants, obviously you're going to want to go with your main stat of choice, which is Mastery. However, if you hit that 45% Mastery, then you can shift your Gems and Enchants to whichever stat you're lacking, either getting up to your comfortable haste percentage or getting that crit to up to within 15% of your Mastery. Lastly, we're going to go over your gear and your best in slots and if you want to go with the tier 21 and Taurus 2 set and 4 set. So starting out, we'll go with the legendaries. Your number 1 best in slot for a Holy Priest is going to be the Velen's Future Sight. It is a stat stick. It has an on-use ability that is a minute 15 cooldown to increase your heals, and it also helps with overhealing. Your second best in slot, if you go with my build, is going to be the Xanches. There's a lot of controversy as to whether or not Xanches is the second best in slot, because all it does is revives you when you die, at least once per fight. A lot of people, when they choose their legendaries for the Holy Priest, they go with the Entrancing Trousers, which are the legendary legs that increase the duration of your renew by 6 seconds. And that also benefits with if you're using Piety and Benediction, because your Prayer Mending chance to leave renews and reduces the cost of Prayer Mending. So you have a higher chance to get a bunch of renews out there, and these renews are also at a higher duration. But like I said, I choose to use Xanches just for the straight resurrection to keep me alive, and it also doesn't use up a battle res. The other alternative legendary you can use if you don't have one of the two is Pridaz. Pridaz, again, is one of the best legendaries out there for all classes because it's a stat stick and of the bubble it gives you every 30 seconds. Now onto the normal gear. We'll start with the tier 21. Since I use the build with Binding Heal, I'm actually shooting for my 2-set and 4-set. I currently don't have a 4-set, but I do have the 2-set. Once I get the 4-set, it'll be much better. Because the 2-set says your Prayer of Healing increases the healing done by your next Flash Heal, Binding Heal, or Heal by 60%. I use Prayer of Healing quite often because I don't generally focus on tank healing, as my raid's composition has someone dedicated to tank healing, which leaves me the ability to just raid heal and spot heal. And then the 4-set says that your Flash Heal, Binding Heal, or Heal spells increase the healing amount of your next Prayer of Healing by 30%. And since I'm using Binding Heal, which is going to be healing myself and 2 other targets, that helps the raid healing quite a bit. And if I'm spamming Prayer of Healing as well as Binding Heal, the 2 heals are feeding each other, increasing the healing done, which is overall giving me a lot more raid healing and even spot healing, because I can use the charge off of Prayer of Healing to put onto Flash Heal if I need to heal someone up faster than what Binding Heal can handle. Now, the best combination I have found for the 2 and 4 set, if you choose to go that route, is the headpiece, the shoulders, and let me see, the other 2 are going to be the chest piece for the crit, and it gives you a little bit extra versatility. And the other one is going to be the legs, which is going to give you a little bit of haste and crit. Now for your other trinket, this is just what I currently have, is the Ishkar's Fell Shield Emitter. It's an okay trinket, but for the Holy Priest, since Mastery is our main stat, due to our direct heals giving the target a hot, which heals them for an amount equal to the percentage of your Mastery from the heal, what we want is the Highfather's trinket that drops off of Coven, because of the straight Mastery increase as well as the throughput from the equipability. Lastly, the thing we're going to go over is healing cooldowns. So we already talked about Apotheosis. Gives you a 30-second enhanced form, which increases the effects of the Serendipity ability by 200%, and reducing the cost of your Holy Word spells by 100%, which allows you to spam Holy Word Sanctify and Holy Word Serenity without worrying about your mana. Next cooldown is Guardian Spirit. Self-explanatory, it puts a set of wings on yourself and your target, and if that person were to die, this will cancel out the Guardian Spirit and heal them for a large amount. While it is on the target, your healing on that target is increased by 40%. Your next cooldown is Divine Hymn. Now, among all of the healer classes, Divine Hymn is currently the worst raid healing cooldown. However, it was made better with the artifact weapon, with the trait Renew the Faith, which says while Divine Hymn is active, Prayer of Mending jumps to a new target every 0.9 seconds without consuming any charges. So when you're about to use your Divine Hymn, throw out your Prayer of Mending and then follow it up directly with Divine Hymn. Also, if you have Velen's Future Sight, pop that in conjunction with Divine Hymn to increase its heals even further, and also will prevent quite a bit of overhealing by redistributing those heals from the Velen's Future Sight trinket ability. Now when you're healing, you also have this cooldown here called Light of Tyr. It applies Light of the Arrow to the target, healing for not a large amount, but it increases the healing done to that target by 45% for 10 seconds. Generally, I use this on tanks, despite if I'm tank healing or raid healing, because it'll allow me to increase my binding heal on that target by the 45%, as well as healing myself and another target. Now, binding heal is what you're going to be using most of the time for healing. As long as those targets are above 50% health, binding heal is what you're going to be using. If a target gets below 50% health, this is when you're going to want to use Flash Heal or even Holy Word Serenity if it is off cooldown to get them up as fast as possible. Now, since I'm not using the Benediction Piety combo with the legendary legs, I don't use Renew a very large amount of time due to its 22,000 mana cost. However, I will keep about 3 to 4 Renews active at any given time during a raid fight. Heal, I have it on my bar, but I don't generally use heal, as Binding Heal heals for much more than heal with the exact same mana cost. So Binding Heal is still overall a much better heal than heal. Prayer Mending, always keep this on cooldown. Most of the time, start out by casting it on a tank and let it do its work. Prayer of Healing, cast this when there's a lot of raid damage going out to heal multiple targets at a fast rate. Again, this will also benefit once you get your 2 and 4 piece if you decide to go that route. Smite and Holy Fire are on the bar. I only use them on occasion when there's no healing to be done. And also Smite will help reduce the cooldown of my Holy Word Chastise, which gives me a third attempt at getting my artifact ability. And your artifact ability that causes this is when you use a Holy Word spell, you have a chance to summon an image of Tyr at your side for 15 seconds. And whenever you cast a spell, Tyr will cast a similar spell. So it gives you a lot more healing. And if you're when you use Holy Word Sanctify, make sure you're hitting at least 3 targets. It'll heal up to 6, but if you hit at least 3 for the full amount, it'll be worth it. And when you're in Apotheosis, make sure to spam Holy Word Sanctify and Holy Word Serenity on cooldown. And generally, you only want to use Apotheosis when there's a lot of raid-wide damage going out so that you can make full use of the Sanctify and Serenity. And thank you for watching this guide. I hope this helps. It's a little better than my last guide, but still not great. I will improve on future guides. Thank you.